everybody on this screen has a different belief about this, and you get to be right. And that's part of emotional intelligence is I don't have to make anybody wrong.
Mm.
Once I understand their belief, that is truly their egoic mind and their identity. And once I understand that, if I'm emotionally intelligent, I should be able to mirror and be in alignment and relationship. But for me, the underlying emotion of every buyer is shame. If I make the wrong decision in my company, it is shame. And my job is to help them to alleviate this idea that they will be shamed for what they're deciding. Now, I don't tell them that the way I just told you, but it's how I show up and present. So when I told you to answer to Bill's point about what he said their buyers looking for, is it a big market? Yeah, it's $40 billion. Is it Walmart is your only customer, or do I have, no, I have 28 million. Is it growing? Yeah, the CAGR is 30%. Okay. What does it look like at exit? If it's AI, it's a multiple of revenue. It's not the traditional 3 to 5 time EBITDA. So now, if I can get you to 100 million at a 10 multiple, which is half the multiple in the market right now, you have $1 billion exit. So your $25 million at 15% is a 6 time. It's not 10, but it's at least six. And you're going to negotiate the 15% up. So I already have put myself in that person's chair. So now I know the emotion, I know the triggers, I know the mark, and all I've got to do is sit in front of them and know exactly what.
Working with peers over the last probably 5 years or so or more, certainly the opportunity has been that everybody wants to generate more revenue, either internally or externally. Internally, of course, with more clients, more market share, process improvement, even some marketing internally. Um, and externally, to be able to get some additional funding, either private equity or be able to get investors. We want to reassess businesses that are in transition, reassess where they're at, remediate what needs to be taken care of, and getting them ready for the funding part, the money part. And the key here is that we've got reassessment tools, and Wayne Clancy is pivotal in that with human and people assessments to be able to determine the C-level skill set, the team, maybe even their clients' teams, maybe their providers or partners' teams, so it becomes a complete ecosystem. And then doing a business assessment, looking at everything, including the finance, including the organizational development, and a marketing assessment. Of course, every company does marketing, little or a lot, depending, I think, on funding or resources or interest or even knowledge. The key here is once we do these assessments, we can uncover the gaps that are occurring in the business. And with their agreement, we can work with them either through consulting or training or coaching or marketing or process improvement, being able to help them get where they want to go in their readiness cycle, to be able to help them showcase their business. We do that every Friday to be able to put them in front of private equity or investors or people that are critical about the business and are willing to show up with funding. And also, we're looking and investigating tokenization to be able to help a company be self-funding so that it can grow its have its own revenue stream. So those are the things that we're looking at to reassess where they're at and transition, remediate them, getting them ready. What I'm looking for is peers that are or know clients in transition that are willing to work with us and that you can be involved as well to be able to help them get to where they want to go. So that's my invitation that you might consider joining our business longevity team. You've got two businesses. One that you mentioned, you're looking for 25 million, and the second one you're transitioning with AI. Let's start one at a time. Big ideas in the business and in the industry. Dan Silverberg.
Yeah. So when I took a look at I took a look at, I wanted, well, there's a thing called the STAR principle, and that was done by Richard Koch. And I've created STAR 2.0 because Matt's on top of it. We're in an ecosystem world. We're not in a network anymore. And and so for me, I'm a I'm how do I want to say this? We're in an era of fragmentation, and there's going to be two leaders in the world. There are builders and there are breakers. My theory is that the builders are the ones who are going to be in trouble in the AI world, and the breakers are going to be the winners. And the reason is that the system, the antiquated system of hierarchy, top-down command and control, is no longer feasible in a world of technology, speed, inability to adapt, lack of resilience, and to Bill's point, social emotional intelligence. And so I only want to work with high growth companies who understand what I just said. If they're like, well, tell me more about that, you're not my client. The ones who are going to understand is the system. So MIT came out and said 92% of AI initiatives right now fail. Why? Because they're band-aiding little things in a hierarchy. It's there's no productivity in that. It's the system that needs to change. How quick do you ingest data? How accurate is it? How quick do you make a decision about it? How fast do you get back with an answer in the market? If you get a 7 to 10% advantage on your competitor, they're toast. So there's a whole new level of branding now that's going to be required. There's a whole new way of ecosystem development teams. It's totally different. So uh, like I said, you're a breaker or a builder. And if you're a builder, then Rocky, it's sort of what you said. How do I get 3% more in revenue? How do I optimize? I hear the word optimize. I know we're in trouble. This isn't an optimized world we're in right now. This is a breaker world. So within that, that's that AI assessment thing that I do, and I do it by function, so you don't have to knock the whole thing out of the air. If you look at a traditional company today, what's their tech stack? Best of breed. So they bought Oracle, SAP, then they bought Salesforce, then they bought XYZ, and now they have 80 SaaS different software. It's not integrated, it's not interoperable, there's no one source of truth. And the real question, there's two questions for a CEO. What's your relationship to power? And tell me how you make your decisions. And then I can pretty well tell you you're screwed or not. Just looking out over the next 36 months. So that's sort of the thing about if I were to work with, I think this thing you're describing, could we bring in people with new ideas? But the thing that's really on my heart is this thing around the endurance sport category. So it's highly fragmented market, 120 million athletes, CAGRs of around 30%. In the niche that I'm going after is a $40 billion market. Every 11,000 athletes is worth $50 million. So if I get 100,000 athletes, I have $1 billion company. Do the math on the multiple of exit. It'll go to Google, Microsoft, Red Bull, Nike, Adidas, Puma, somebody like that. So it's totally built on science, data integration, and AI intelligence. We'll be implementing AR with it. So if someone puts in $25 million and gets 15%, they'll get a 283% IRR. It's going to be a unicorn. Now, I know every entrepreneur is supposed to say that, but when you look at our strategic intent, are you working with any what I call traditional company that understands compounding, understands data leakage, understands these different kinds of things I'm talking about? Most of them are nowhere near it yet. And so we have a marketing strategy because it's a walled garden of athletes. We're not going after consumers. There's two platforms where you register. There's 110,000 clubs, and 28 million of the 120 million are our customers. So we're going to do a 330-300. We'll get the top 33 people as ambassadors. We'll probably pay them, give them equity. They'll be the influencers. Everybody knows who they are, and it's going to be a viral game. So they buy $15,000 bicycles. This company came out with titanium spokes that are very light so they can go faster. And as soon as the top guys bought them, the company couldn't keep up with it. It's a viral thing. And 1% improvement makes you a hero. And we're going to shoot for 1% improvement every 90 days.
Mm.
So we don't care if you have a Whoop watch, a Garmin watch, an Apple watch, an Oura ring. We don't care. So it'll have metabolic data, musculoskeletal data, biometric data. It'll have all of these things fully integrated, personalized, and then with permission, we'll anonymize and we'll be able to have bandwidths for these athletes. So if you're here in the bandwidth and you want to go to here, we'll be able to get you that. We're not going to get you from here to number one. And we're different because we're AI intelligence. So everything out there right now is training. And the whole idea of a coach is what? To get you to be number one and get a medal. Our whole thing is to get you to become the best version of you. We're not in the get you a medal business.
Yeah, Dan, you mentioned a B2B company and also B2C company. I'm more interested in the B2B, although I appreciate from an athlete's standpoint the needs to get there. But let's start with the B2B, the builder or breaker. I thought, and I do believe you need both. You got to have the builder that generates the revenue to be able to fund the breaker, to be able to have the new ideas. And you're saying it should be one or the other camp. So can you say more about that? What exactly are you thinking along these lines, Dan?
Yeah. So the breaker is the person who understands AI and understands system and process. When that's put in place, then a COO as a builder will have less of a role. But Rocky, these things change. We had 30 or 50 years of builder, not breaker, right? From 1979 up through, I'm going to say what, 2020, it was a builder's game. So you want to have a builder in the organization because it's going to swing. But right now, if at the face of your company is a builder and not a breaker, you're in trouble. So yes, you're going to need that, but a traditional builder guy will, how do they build revenue? Well, most companies, what they do is when they stall because they don't innovate, they either buy the innovation, right? They buy back their stock. That's how they move the market. When's the last time Coke came out with anything new on their own? They haven't. Look at look at Cisco Systems.
Well, that's Cisco, but look at Elon Musk and look at all the things that he's doing. And also, there's other companies that are coming out with innovation. But let me open it up.
And since that I think that's a part of this builder breaker idea, um, is we're going to have the breakers going to look at how can I break the systems and make them more efficient or more effective or more revenue generating, the money part. And then the builder is going to be how am I going to build the infrastructure. The visionary and the collaborators are the other two groups that are hanging there wondering where they're going to fit. So I do a thinking style assessment where I do team analysis on this space all the time. So those two pieces that you've got, the builder and breaker, are the ones that are going to get most exposure inside the environment because you can measure those. It's hard to measure vision. It's hard to measure collaboration
Well, you can
unless
by results. You can measure by.
right, but it's still it's like it's got to go through what are we getting from those two things. So and the thing I really feel curious about is in your description is athletes, how to get this narrow version of athletes in this performance. They've got to raise their brand profile on an individual level
Mhm.
in order to get the deal with the bike company. So when they say, I love this bike, the bike goes out the door. So I currently have a plan right in place to interview these professional athletes in a certain setting so they can start branding that, build their brand recognition and their acknowledgement. So you and I have to talk about that at least. Because if you do you have athletes in your queue right now in your stable right now?
Well, we have like the head of Ironman, for example. I've got a gold medal Olympic athlete who's
Okay, so
on
you
my
got a few
team.
athletes in your stable. Okay, great. So
So
those are
I'm
the people that I want to interview to get out to be able to raise their brand profile. So
Yeah,
that's a
well,
good.
I'm pre-launch right now, Bill. So and I'm not after professional athletes. I'm only after the athletes in the five areas that I talked about.
Right.
I'm hoping to sell to Nike or one of those guys. They can go after the NFL and all the professional guys because kings play with kings and queens with queens and jacks with jacks.
Yeah, but
I'm
if you put one of those performer athletes next to the other one and you have them in some kind of mixture, that is, then there's a leg up that takes place in that experience too. So yeah, that's an interesting space you're working in. That's definitely interesting. So
and my master's degree in leadership and coaching, the underpinnings emotional intelligence, so we have plenty to talk about.
we do.
I'm I'm as emotionally intelligent as I choose to be.
Wow, that there's
A
a
lot of
sentence right
times I
there.
don't choose to be, so there
Wow,
you
there's
go.
another sentence right there.
Yeah.
Those are both dissertations. Both those two sentences are, I've got a
Yeah,
dissertation
exactly,
for both of
right?
you. Okay. Interesting space you're working on. It is a good
Yeah,
one.
Bill, maybe you could say more big ideas in your business, your industry, Bill Sterl.
I guess the hardest part is everybody has a driver's license. So therefore, everybody believes they're a good driver or even a great driver. Same thing with emotional intelligence. Everybody hears the phrase and says, "Oh, I have an emotion. Oh, I have some intelligence. I must be good at this thing." Yeah, that's not really true. Just because you have a driver's license and just because you can speak, it doesn't mean you're good at emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence for me, the big idea, Rocky, because that's the thing that's so important here is how do you get people to listen to what's being said here and then respond in an emotionally intelligent way underneath here? So it's somebody says something that is resonating at this level. What do you say next to deepen the conversation or to get the conversation to be more effective? And that's where emotional intelligence kind of lives, which is, what Dan and I just went through there was feeling confused, needing some understanding is the emotional intelligence sentence, or feeling curious because I need clarity. Those are emotionally intelligent words. Feeling word, a need word, and it's connected. And that's a moment of deeper connection. So that allows Dan and I to pick up the conversation and says, "Oh yeah, how do you want to have a greater impact? And how do we want to get the investors on board quicker than trying to do the sizzle? How do you do the deeper connection so they pull out a check and hand it to Dan?" I mean, that's what you would like, right, Dan? Is somebody to write you a check?
Yeah, so to go a little deeper with it, Bill, when I walk into a boardroom or I walk into a venture capitalist, they don't have to say a word. I know who the power players are. I know who the obstructors are, right? Because I've done this long enough. But the real key to the game is I have no idea what your triggers are. And so, and then how self-aware am I of my own emotional regulation?
Boy, there it is right there. That's emotional intelligence. What he just did is going like, you got to know where your buttons are. Are you going to push the button for respect or recognition? Are you pushing the button for truth or are you going to do for trust? Which one are you working on? Which one is the listener working on? So the listener is the one I'm interested in. My own triggers, like you're saying, is you're trying to create a vision for the listener, and they're sitting with doubt and skepticism before you get out of the gate because they're the one that has the money in their account. It's like, I ain't freeing this up until I have certainty or trust that this money I'm spending is going to give me a 5 or a 10x that's coming back in my direction in the next 18 months. If I'm not delivering that, it's going to stay in my wallet. I might as well just park it over here because the risk
So,
is too high and I don't have trust with you.
so
So
if you're selling to anybody, what is the number one emotion that underlies the buyer?
the two emotions that are the things that uh, stop the buying cycle: doubt, skepticism. Now, there
Okay,
are two
those aren't emotions. So what's the
whoa,
number
whoa, whoa,
one
whoa, whoa, whoa.
emotion?
Doubt is a feeling, that is an emotion. Skeptical is a feeling, that is emotions. Those are caused by two different needs. Those are two different needs. Anger is an emotion.
Yes.
Okay, frustration is an emotion. Those are a
No.
different set of those are a different set of cortisol and adrenaline. Don't get me into measuring this thing biochemically, because otherwise you don't want to play in that space. But here are some words that represent a different biochemistry inside the body. How do I change the feeling of doubt or skeptic or hesitancy inside the body of another person? I have to address 2 to 3 words. First word is the need for truth. The second word is the need for trust. And the third one is the need for certainty. If I don't get those three to move, doubt and skepticism or frustration or anger will stay in place. And if I don't address those in by the way the listener wants it, the person will not move, or they'll stall, or they'll just kick me out of their long-term memory. I won't be available to them. It's really interesting how our words have that much impact, because everybody has a different set of words that shows up. And building our feeling and need vocabulary is what I teach people to do.
Man,
Fear and greed.
Nope.
Learned that from stock market.
Nope.
Fear
Keep
and
going.
greed.
Fear is a feeling, greed's an analysis, but exactly right. Fear is going to cause it. That's one feeling. Greed is the need for either respect or recognition. And I have some greed regarding financial security. And I want to be known as a respected person because I have a lot of affluence. That's a respect or a recognition play, all the way back to Michael Douglas and Wall Street. Greed is good.
we have to
That's
see the
right.
movie. Well, Dan, you tease us with some emotion. Do you want to say
Well,
that?
I want to say one thing. Everybody on this screen has a different belief about this, and you get to be right. And that's part of emotional intelligence is I don't have to make anybody wrong. Once I understand their belief, that is truly their egoic mind and their identity. And once I understand that, if I'm emotionally intelligent, I should be able to mirror and be in alignment and relationship. But for me, the underlying emotion of every buyer is shame. If I make the wrong decision in my company, it is shame. And my job is to help them to alleviate this idea that they will be shamed for what they're deciding. Now, I don't tell them that the way I just told you, but it's how I show up and present. So when I told you to answer to Bill's point about what he said their buyers looking for, is it a big market? Yeah, it's $40 billion. Is it Walmart is your only customer, or do I have, no, I have 28 million. Is it growing? Yeah, the CAGR is 30%. Okay. What does it look like at exit? If it's AI, it's a multiple of revenue. It's not the traditional 3 to 5 time EBITDA. So now, if I can get you to 100 million at a 10 multiple, which is half the multiple in the market right now, you have $1 billion exit. So your $25 million at 15% is a 6 time. It's not 10, but it's at least 6. And you're going to negotiate the 15% up. So I already have put myself in that person's chair. So now I know the emotion, I know the triggers, I know the mark, and all I've got to do is sit in front of them and know exactly. So I'll give you a quick example. I started the first all natural, no artificial sweetened beverage in the market 25 years ago. I opened Walmart and every major grocery store in 6 months, and I paid no slotting allowance. If you know anything about beverage, that's impossible. So I walk into Highland Capital Partners, Wick Grousbeck. He bought the Boston Celtics with the Bain guy, Steve Pagliuca. And I'm sitting there doing the presentation, and this little shit at the end of the table keeps interrupting me. Now, most people, what they would do is tolerate that. I stopped the presentation. I said, "Excuse me, what's your name?" Josh. Josh, what's your title here? Well, I'm like a trainee. Great. How long have you been here? Like 6 months. So, Josh, here's my request. Don't interrupt me again. And by the time I'm done, not only will I have answered all your questions, I probably will give you some information. You can ask better questions. Would that be okay with you? And the guy at the top of the table is doing exactly what you just did, Rocky. He's like, this guy's the CEO. I can put my money with this guy. He's take no prisoners. But most people go in needy. Oh, people don't fund needy. You could have the greatest idea in the world, be needy, you aren't getting any money. That's it to me, Bill. That is emotional intelligence. And do it with a smile, right? Don't do it in an anger,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but do it
Well,
with a
it
smile.
definitely meets the need for respect and recognition at the expense of this person that was asking you questions. And you don't know if you step on that guy's neck, if he sabotages you later when you're out of the meeting in the room, or you just scored points with the other people that are also looking for the confident, respectful person that knows how to handle this objection of the little guy, the little shit at the end of the table. So being able to diffuse that person the way you did would be different than the way I would diffuse the person. So it's
Right,
very, very different. You know, you can step on the guy. I can step on anybody's neck if I want to because I have enough languaging skills to do that. That's not necessarily the most, like you were saying, that's not necessarily the most emotionally intelligent one because you're going to get pushback from different people inside the room depending on how you do that. You
right.
know, and actually, Wayne, you were going to mention something, and a bunch of people were talking on top. Wayne, what were you going to? I know you were trying to get in the game here of our conversation, and it
Oh,
was really important to make sure you're being heard. So,
yeah. Well, it was just a little add-on to what you had talked about earlier in the whole adoption of appreciative inquiry and looking at the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic in people, and be able to create a language that is meaningful to them. And when you say to somebody, because a natural visual person sees things from a visual perspective. So, how does that look to you? And the kinesthetic people sitting at the table, it doesn't look
doesn't even
right.
resonate with them. Yeah,
But by
that's right.
understanding their kinesthetic, how do you feel about that? You get a different response, and they're a part of it. Or how does this sound to you? And it's so simple, but it's so unpracticed because people generally go with their own way of
Yeah, they
communication.
autobiographical speak. Yeah, yeah, that's a
That's
good
right.
point.
And being able to read the right people and use the simple language like that actually can increase your effectiveness either in a pitch or in a sale or even with other relationships that you have.
Yeah,
Being
yeah,
able to use the kind of language that is meaningful to them and not necessarily to you. So I was
yeah.
just gonna
Well,
because I
misunderstand that's a good augmentation because misunderstanding can take place anywhere along the list of that. And then all of a sudden you're fighting. You don't know that you're starting a fire over here that you have to put out later. And that's the thing that I try to get across to people is like, why start a fire when you don't need to? You know,
yeah.
so and it's
And sometimes you can start it just by using the language that they can appeal
oh
to.
oh
Right?
man.
How does that look
Hands
to you?
down.
Like a kinesthetic person, they can't even be a
I
part
don't
of it.
look. Yeah, that's
I
right.
don't see anything, right? And I feel bad right now, right?
They're not even
So,
in that skew. That's right.
but it's
Yeah.
it's amazing how few people actually know about that part of the science of human communication. So
Yeah. It's
it's
fun. Yeah.
it could be fascinating. Yeah. I
Well,
wrote about that. I wrote a bestseller book back in the 90s. It was called Differentiate to Win. And I built a lot of that into it. And it was about integrity selling, which back in the 90s, if for us older guys, that wasn't a part of selling at all.
No.
It still
Right.
isn't really. It still isn't really. But in the book was all about writing, selling for integrity. Make sure that you understand what it is that the people need and that what you're doing can help them. And
Yep.
as long as you're able, and you always can, but you've got to make sure that you find it, service it, and then deliver it in a meaningful way using language that is important to them. And then you're going to get a better result. Right. And it creates integrity in what you're doing. But God, I started my corporate life and I became a VP at the age of 28 in a very large company because I kind of knew a lot of this stuff. And it was amazing how the sales reps were rewarded for bullying sales through.
Yeah.
Crazy how that worked. And that
Yeah.
they don't even know that they're burning the long-term relationship with the person they've sold to because they got their commission and they're stepping on the neck of the customer along the way and the person just buys to get them the hell out of the room, which
Yeah.
is
Or
not
or for the expensive dinner. Yeah.
or for the right expensive dinner. My God.
So
Well,
Bill,
some
coming back to, what I was saying about the presentation and what you said, part of what I was doing consciously, and I think here's another thing about emotional intelligence. How much do you live in reactivity and how much do you live in an intention? And my intention was to tell the senior guy there, don't put gumshoes on the board with me because they won't do well. And in the negotiation is who is going to be on the board. Because for me, if I have $1 billion, if you believe what I'm saying is true, you will know I have $1 billion exit. I'm the prize, not you. Money is fungible. There's hundreds of you guys. There's only one of me. Most entrepreneurs, I don't believe, have that sense yet. And particularly the kids in their 20s and 30s, they know a lot about a lot, but that power dynamic, that emotional intelligence of power dynamic is in a way ontological and experiential. It's not a headset.
that's true.
Oof, very challenging in the environment. Very, very challenging. Youth have, and I have 3 kids, and
Yeah, me too.
their belief about what they know is greatly exaggerated. And these are kids that were raised by me. They go, oh, I'm going like, it's not even on the same and that's throughout. I mean, I teach college courses and I'm sitting across from somebody and this kid says some bullshit thing and I'm going like, well, that's not so true. How do I walk on eggshells to, because otherwise this guy goes, well, and all of a sudden it's like they have an opinion as if they have my years of experience. And they're that's the thing that's really toxic in our environment right now is our perception and our perspective has been narrowed,
Mhm.
that we have no ability to have a healthy discussion like the 6 of us are doing online right now. How do you have a
Yeah.
healthy discussion?
And
Yep.
Bill, some really interesting research we did on cognitive conditioning years ago, where we had some clients that were doing all the right things, but we're not getting the results that we thought they should. And
Right.
I backed away one day and I said, do we have capacity for further engagement? Are we trying to get blood from a stone here? That
Nice.
kind of a question. And we ended up doing some research with a couple of university students, and we found a board, and this was way before the blue zones. We found a border town in Israel where people were living happy, healthy, productive lives well into their 90s, even though they were under threat of death every day with planes flying over and everything else, high stress environment. And there were 2 key elements. One is they ate healthy. That was one of them. But the second thing is that they recognized between birth and roughly the age of 10, your brain is physically forming. Between 10 and roughly 2021, your brain is emotionally forming. And it's during that period of time that they did zero indoctrinations into anything political, anything religious. There was none of that conditioning at all because they wanted their brains to be open to new ideas and different. They weren't even taken out to the nothing, and it was a highly religious area. And then at 2021, they were ready. You want to come out to the community religious things, what you can, but you don't have to. And they believe that was the single biggest reason where they didn't condition their young people as computers, and they were allowed their brains to emotionally form effectively, right? And you think about what's happening now. We're into like 4 generations now of this massive conditioning politically and with a lot of other things on our young people. and the stress that that causes. Because as we say, AI is predictive, humans are judgmental, and humans will always be judging. And judging doesn't mean bad; it means we ask questions and we try to create new and different things. But without that ability to be judgmental and through a conditioning environment can be so difficult. So it's anyway, I could go on and on forever about
Oh
all that
yeah, that's
research.
a go. And I developed a chart, a language development chart for the different age groups, which is kind of off the charts too, which is really fantastic. So
Well, that's where we get it from. I get people, saying those young people, they're so entitled, and now say, yeah, remember your first boss? Why not embrace it? Say, okay, what do you see? I do that with my students all the time when I'm working with a capstone group or something. I'll say,
mhm.
so what are your thoughts and ideas on this project? And they'll look around at each other. You want to hear from us? Because they're so used to that, the educational system of shut up and I'll tell you what's great, right? Anyway, go ahead,
Well,
Rocky.
that may be a reason why Matt's developing 100,000 AI agents. I don't know if that's because of what you said,
Yeah,
Wayne or Bill,
so
but Matt, you tell us what is going on
yeah,
with your business?
absolutely. So I'm happy to share with everyone. We're working with multiple organizations to make that happen. Obviously, I cannot just do it on my own. We're gonna have a trainer with AI agents to make that happen. So now we have all the technology at your fingertip. So there are millions. Actually, we just work out a deal with AI education with over 1 million users. So this is a start, and we're gonna the next level will be the AI bootcamp. So this is the world is heading right now. I actually been I was teaching online for many years as an online adjunct professor teaching both MBA and IT service management. So the next level of teaching is not just a learning management system. That's out. That is obsolete. The
Yep.
next level of management is AI agents on steroid, taking not just one instructor, but multiple instructors. This is where, Bill, that you can leverage that technology to make it happen, bringing multiple subject matter expertise. And this is why I'm excited about the AI, not just for technology's sake. And we're really looking at three major function use cases: lead generation, promotion, onboarding, training, and that's exactly what this is about. And of course, the third level is the recruiting. So, yeah, I'm super excited. We're starting getting ready for this weekend boot camp. So it's 8 week. By the end of this for 2 months, everyone will have enough skills and tools to start the AI agency to help their nonprofit and local business. That's the key. So people are talking about all these AI revolutions, and there's a lot of job layoffs. Well, this is a solution. This is how we can help everyone to take advantage of the AI revolution. We talk about trillions of dollars and stuff like that. So I'm super excited. So if you know of any nonprofits looking a way to supercharge the fundraising, let's chat.
Yeah, this would do that. Can you say more about the 100,000 agents? Is that with the nonprofits or the healthcare, or is that a
Well,
hyperbole that you're mentioning?
that's our goal for 100,000. So just think about it, right? We are talking about 10 million users. Well, I'm just taking a small slice, conservative percentage. So we are using the AI education as a baseline to get everyone oriented on the AI education. Once they get past that, then we will take it to the next level. The 100,000 agency is for working with nonprofits and vocational training schools, so that it's going to be we're gonna have a trainer, right? I mean, I cannot do everything on my own. So this is the next level. We're gonna have a program to train the trainer. I will provide you those to all the information. There are professional instructors. They want to start their whole new career or whatever. And those, I mean, there's so many out there, right? So what we do is to provide the training program and the tools. That's the key. I just attended the AI Advantage Summit from Tony Robbins, right? They charge about $1,000, by the way, for 30 days, but they don't provide the tools. That's the problem, you know? What do you do afterward? You know? Are they going to buy another tools or whatever? And what's unique about our program is that not only will provide the training and the tools, we will also provide the leads, qualified leads, because through the organization, through our network ecosystem, well, we got a lot of small business looking for help. Well, we can feed them to them, right? I mean, this is the flywheel. See, I mentioned about the AI money flow flywheel. This is the money flow flywheel that we replicate. I learned that from NVIDIA, Oracle, and OpenAI, right? They're the $1 trillion flywheel. We're the small scale.
Well, we've got people here that would like to ask you more about the flywheel. Anybody have a question, comment, thought, feedback for Matt? Anybody?
Well, a couple things, Matt. Number one is
Hmm.
how I see this working in a business, not a nonprofit. I could see having a CMO with a social media agent, and the social media agent would have an agent for TikTok and another agent for Facebook and another agent for YouTube. And you
Yeah.
literally could have a department of agents. But I think what's not clear yet, at least in my experience, when are they going off track and when are they totally 100% aligned? In my mind, that's not 100% proven yet, but I'd be interested to hear
Yeah.
what you think.
Yeah, it's good. Very good point. This is where we gonna have the augmented intelligence. Wayne mentioned that earlier before. This is you never get away from the human touch, the intervention. There's we can have multiple AI agents to double check both sides. That's another. I mean, you can have many agents. Hey, here's the work. Please check it. A, B, and C, and then from the three, then you come
Because
out with the best of the, yeah.
we know on the coding right now that as much as we can get an advantage in coding without a senior person overlooking it, you can really go off track in a hurry.
Well, I do vibe coding every day actually myself.
Yeah.
I have built multiple mobile apps already. So I'm going to tell you something. This is getting better and better every single day. This AI is totally disrupt. I mean, you'd call it breaker. I call it disruptor for every industry, every profession. And
Yep.
this is, it's kind of scary if you don't get on it, right? I mean, every business is going to be disrupted if they don't change or make it better. This is why and I have a project, another project that we're going to help non-tech folks with subject matter expertise to launch your AI agency as well using the information and the technology because let's say you're a real estate broker, right? Let's say you're insurance agent, right? I'm sure you have all the subject matter expertise. You can have your AI agency with your contents, with your training or sales training and all of the above.
I think is going to happen over the next 36 to 60 months. We're going to bifurcate. And what I mean by that is we're going to have creators and we're going to have consumers. And the people that are in traditional corporate America
Mhm.
are, if they are consumers, meaning they have traditional jobs, they're going to be screwed because they've got a wife, a house, two kids, and one in college, and their $150,000 job just went away and there's not a new one.
Right.
And so, how do we get people that are used to working in a world of scaffolding now to become entrepreneurs?
Oh my Lord.
That would
And
be
that
difficult.
transition can't happen fast enough. And we are going to have a mental health crisis in this country
Yeah, and it's not
that,
available either. Yeah.
yeah,
Those are
that's
different
gonna,
mindsets.
if you think civilization's in trouble now, wait do you see that 3 years from now? And right now we have 22 healthcare workers, mental health per 100,000 people.
Wow.
This is going to be the biggest disruption to a civilized society. The closing question for Bill and his students is, tell me what belief you are 100% certain about. And what that implies is it's universal for everybody. And then go around the room and say, Bill said that. How many of you agree? And people will but a lot of people won't put their hands up. And
That's
there
right.
you just found out that you get your belief, you're right, and it's not for everybody.
Right. Beliefs and biases and fallacies are a whole communication lane.
Yeah,
Emotional intelligence is a lane. Thinking
yeah.
intelligence is a whole lane. Those are the three different lanes of communication. So thanks for bringing that up.